Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Brittney Bundles and today's video is titled Finding a Building for Your Business. If you are interested, be sure to give me a big thumbs up. Make sure to click the subscribe button and let's get right into the video. Okay, so the first thing that I want to touch bases on is like, how do you start searching? Where do you look for different buildings and things like that? So a lot of people may be looking for different buildings for like an office space. I had a salon previously, so I know a lot of people in the hair industry are looking for salon spaces. You may be looking for spaces to open up your hair company. It's just different, different reasons why people are looking to obtain a actual building for their business. As you can definitely search on Google for different commercial buildings in your area, and you kind of want to search for that commercial buildings for lease or for rent. And then you also can look at your local ads. So sometimes if different buildings are leasing or if they're ready to rent their space out, they'll provide different signs in front of their building. They'll put different ads up in different stores, on the radio. So be cautious, keep your eye out for different ads that are in your community, as well as like on the radio, television, and things like that. If you're looking at actually purchasing a building, getting a mortgage for your business, then you can definitely look into getting a realtor. And just some ideas to throw out to you guys if you are interested and you're like, where do I start? So start on Google, look in your area, keep your eye out for different ads, and keep your ears tuned to like different ads on the radio, television, things like that. You want to make sure when you're looking for a building that you look at the location. So when you look at the location, you not only want to make sure that it's a location with high traffic, because obviously the more traffic that the building or the area has, the more likely you are to get more customers. The more customers, the more likely you are to be busy. The more busy your business is, the more likely you are to generate more money. Even when you start looking for different buildings to lease or to rent, the rent sometimes is not only based on the square footage, but it's also based on the area, because you do pay higher for a higher traffic area. So for example, when I was looking for my salon, if I looked for buildings that were by campus, or if I looked for buildings that was like by the mall, just places that are really, really heavily populated or downtown or have really high traffic areas, those buildings cost more. The buildings could actually be smaller in space, but because it offered a broader clientele or client or consumer base, it was, more expensive, which makes sense. You also want to make sure that the building that you find has easy parking. I know like with my downtown, there's a lot of buildings that don't really offer parking. So you'll have to like find a parallel parking space or pay for parking in a parking ramp. But be mindful of that too. I'm not saying that customers won't pay for parking, but the chances of you getting more clientele, more customers actually stopping also depends on your parking. Sometimes me personally, I will drive past the building if I have to parallel park. I suck at parking, so I just don't want to do that. If I know there's another place that I can go to get the same product or the same service, more than likely I'm just going to go someplace that's really easy for me to park. And a lot of people think that way. So keep parking in mind. Make sure that you have enough space for not only your employees, but for your customers as well. And then also a good tip is to kind of find a location near a buddy business. And what I mean by a buddy business is, I'll use my salon for example. So for my salon, obviously we're doing hair, right? So in the same plaza as my salon, there was a beauty supply store. So if we ran out of supplies, the stylist can easily walk down. So it saves some gas and time, but they can easily walk down to the beauty supply store and pick up different essentials, combs, barbicide, rubber bands, whatever they need or they ran out of. Also, a lot of people that are going into beauty supply stores, they're looking at purchasing hair, and a lot of them don't have like stylists or beauticians that they have a relationship with or that they know. So we got a lot of our clients from the beauty supply store because the beauty supply store recommend, our salon since we're in the same plaza, and vice versa. Or if clients came into our shop and they're like, hey, what kind of hair should I purchase for this braided updo? I would tell them that you can actually get this type of hair for this style right here. It's 2 doors down. Use this store, and it would be convenient. And then vice versa, the beauty supply store would say, hey, you're looking to have this done. Yes, we know people that can do it for you. They're great. Go down to Bad Chick Hair Salon. So just being sure that you're next to a buddy business. If you're opening a car wash, being next to like a gas station is perfect. That's like a buddy business. So if someone's getting gas, it makes sense. Like, oh, I might as well get my car washed here too. So just kind of businesses that really complement each other is what I'm referring to. So keep in mind, if you can, try to find a location next to a buddy business. The next tip that I have for you guys is being cautious of the square footage of the space. So you want to make sure that you have enough space, especially if you're opening up a salon. You want to make sure that you have enough space, not only for like your inventory and yourself, but you want to have enough space so that your stylists are comfortable and your clients are comfortable too. That includes like a waiting area, a washing area, enough spaces in between the booths, different type of areas that you can provide just to make it a little bit more comfortable for everyone in the building. The next tip that I have for you guys is landlord. So when you're looking at different buildings, make sure that the landlord or the person that you're renting from is very professional, very patient, willing to negotiate with you. So I'm not saying, when I say willing to negotiate, I'm not saying that, you know, you have to come to them with like, go to them with like a ridiculous request and be like, oh, they're not negotiating, so I'm out of here. No, make sure that it's reasonable. Make sure that it makes sense for them and for you. It's like if they're saying, you know, your rent's going to be $2,000 a month, and you see that there's a lot of things that need to be repaired with the building, they're not willing to repair it, or you see, hey, you know, this area really isn't a very high traffic area. I know that, you know, the space is wonderful, but are you able to go down a couple hundred just because of the area that we're in? You know, just kind of stuff like that. Also make sure that the building is in decent enough condition for you to, I would prefer, move right in. Of course, you're going to have to do, you know, basic renovations like painting. You may have to do some different things with the floor. You may have to, you know, add your touches to it, but I'm just referring to if the window's cracked, or if, you know, the door lock is broke, or if the toilet is not fixed or working correctly. You know, be cautious of things like that. If the water lines aren't hooked up correctly, because a lot of times in your leases, the landlords are not going to fix everything. So just be sure, you know, because you are renting that building, you don't want to put a lot of money into repairs, because you may not be there for a really long time, and you don't want to, like I said, put all your money into a building that's not even yours. You know, once you leave, you pretty much fix it up for the next person. So be cautious on that. Also, make sure that the setup is beneficial for you guys. I know, especially like with the salon, you want to make sure that the water lines are kind of already set up so that you can hook your sinks up seamlessly. You just want to make sure that the setup makes sense, that the layout is open, if that's what you're looking for, that it goes with your theme, that it just flows with what you're trying to do. Another tip, make sure the walls are like an easy texture to paint. I know my walls in my building were like brick, and brick absorbs paint like no other. It was just so hard to paint over brick. It took so much paint because it just like I couldn't get all of the holes in there, and it was just so many different techniques that we had to try. So just be cautious of that as well. And then also make sure that you look at the rent amount. Make sure that it's something that you actually can afford. So if you're going into like a salon or something like that, make sure that you calculate the sales that you're projected to make, and that it makes sense. There's enough money left over for you to actually have a profit at the end of everything. I'm not saying that you have to have a crazy profit, because in the beginning you are going to be putting a lot into your business so that, you know, you can reap the return, but you still want to make sure that it makes sense. And you have some actual, you know, money saved up as a cushion, just in case, you know, you're not making money as fast as you thought you would. The last thing that I want to go over, well, not the last thing, but the second to last thing that I want to go over is your down payment. So when you're leasing a building, typically your landlord is going to want your first month's rent and also a deposit. So if you think, you know, my building was like $1,600, so you need to put the $1,600 down, and then the deposit is like another, you know, $1,600. Typically the deposit is another month of rent. So it may catch some people off guard. If you have never rented a building before, you may be saying, wow, I thought I was just going to pay the next month. No, typically just like an apartment, they want, you know, their deposit and their first month's rent. Last thing that I'm going to cover is your legal services. So before you sign anything, you definitely want to make sure that you reread it, get a copy of it, definitely take it home. If you have friends, family, have them look over it. But ultimately, you want to make sure that you have someone legal get involved. If you want to take it to like a family attorney, your lawyer, because if you are going into business, especially with a building, you need to make sure that you have some kind of legal guidance just in case, because things may arise. More than likely, they will arise, and you want to make sure that you're covered. But make sure that you seek legal services before you actually sign on that dotted line, because once you sign, you know, it's really hard for you to say, hey, someone tricked me. You know, it's difficult to do that. You know, you have to be accountable for what you sign, and be very thorough before you put your signature on something. We're all grown, so it's just it's best, you know, even if you read it and you read it with your mom and your dad and you're like, oh, this sounds good, it's always best to have someone that's experienced with the legal documents reread it, because there's a lot of ways that people can word different things to make it sound like something it's not. There's a lot of different phrases, different clauses that are snuck into, or not really snuck, but like, I guess I'll just say kind of hidden in the contract. So make sure that you look through all of that so that you're not getting yourself screwed over in the end, and that you're just ultimately protecting yourself, your business, and your money. I hope this helped you guys. If you have any questions, be sure to leave them down below. As always, be sure to give me a big thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.